Hello there, and welcome to episode 7 of the Dudes Being Guys Sports Podcast.
Just guys being dudes.
My name is Marco Yerkovich, and joining me, as always, is Easton Nelson.
What's up, guys? Today we'll be discussing Jimmy Garoppolo tearing his ACL, the Fitzmagic running out in Tampa, the Raiders' slow start, and the Browns finally winning a game.
All right, before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone to please like this video, subscribe to the channel for more content, and leave a comment down below of some more ideas for other videos. Alrighty, so let's get right into it with Jimmy Garoppolo tearing his ACL against the Chiefs.
All right. So, are the 49ers now out of playoff contention?
Well, I thought they were a fringe playoff contender to start with this season, even with Garoppolo. They have one of the weakest receiving cores in the league, if not the weakest. So, for sure, right, they're out. Yeah.
Well, last year they ended off undefeated, right, with when he started. And how many games was that?
Yeah. He got there like week 7 or 8. He won the last 5 games he played. He only started the last 5.
Yeah, and I kind of thought it was a little overrated because they didn't play the best of the best teams. And this year it showed that he isn't as good as he was last year, at least. And yeah, like you said, the 49ers, I never really thought they were going to be in the playoffs this year. They just don't have the talent, really, except for Richard Sherman, let's be honest. Like, he's their defensive stud. Then you got, Matt Breida's been pretty decent for them. He's the leading.
Dante Pettis is a good returner, but he's yet to prove himself.
Yeah, but
even though it's
what
only
else do you
3.
have, really?
Yeah, you also have to
there.
look. You have to look at the division. You have 2 guaranteed losses to the Rams, and it's a weaker division than it's been. But the Seahawks are still a challenge. They can beat the Cardinals, but honestly, just looking at their schedule, they really had no chance. And now it's a for sure no-go. There's no way they can make the playoffs.
Agree.
So was this injury that we're talking about, this ACL tear, was it Jimmy's fault?
I can't. I hate to say that it's his fault because you never know what's gonna happen. But he should have just gone out of bounds. Let's be honest. Like, he's almost there. Most quarterbacks just run out so they don't get hit like that and can get injured by that. But what do you think about that?
I don't know. As the Chiefs player that hit him said, like, what was he doing? Like, get out of bounds, protect your team. Like, he got maybe another yard or 2 from that.
An inch.
And the worst part is his knee wasn't even hit. It was a non-contact. It was that when he lowered his shoulder, his knee buckled, and then he was hit, and so he tore it that way. It wasn't even – so they're declaring it a non-contact ACL tear. That's that's
very uncommon, I bet.
It's uncommon in game, at least. Like in practice, I guess if you tear your ACL, it's probably from non-contact. But like in a game, I can't think of an ACL tear that I've seen that hasn't been due to someone hitting the knee.
Derrick Rose.
Okay,
that was his fault, kind of.
Yeah, that was
because he jumped up in there. But,
yeah,
that's basketball.
Basketball, kind of different, but yeah, that's kind of in the same vein. So so kind of going back on this whole Jimmy G responsibility thing and how good is he? Were the 49ers too hasty to give him such a large deal so soon? 5 years, $135 million.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I thought he was a little overrated because of his performance at the end of last year. And, he's not a bad quarterback by any means. I'd say he's on, like, tier 2 of the quarterbacks, maybe tier 3. He's not bad. But I don't think he's, how much was it, 135 million?
135 over 5 years.
5 years. That's a little too much for him, I'd say. What do you think?
That's the problem today. If you get a decent quarterback, you got to pay big time money to keep him. You got Matt Stafford making upwards of $25 million a year. Kirk Cousins making upwards of $25 million a year. If you have a guy that can more than manage the game and is a decent guy and doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, you have to pay big money for him now in the NFL, and it's worth it.
Yeah, if he's gonna produce like just decently, it's hard to find a franchise quarterback. So I understand why they did because of his performance last year. But just going back on it now, it just doesn't look very good right now.
No, yeah, it doesn't look good at all. And another thing that didn't look very good this weekend was the Fitzmagic running out in his 3rd game for Tampa Bay against the Steelers on Monday Night Football. So with that happening, it's a little less certain. Will he keep his starting job?
I think so. He started off really bad, but they almost came back and won. It was, what was it, 20-something to like 7?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. At half, it was like 30-10, I think.
I thought the final
score
was like 27.
30-10 at some point in the 3rd quarter, and it was so out of control. But as soon as Fitzpatrick got his rhythm together, you could see the comeback coming from a mile away.
Yeah, and I
He
think
is so talented. Still threw for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns.
yeah, and I think it's still more than what Jameis Winston would have done that game. I mean, what Jameis Winston's not gonna have a comeback like that.
No, and
I
he's
don't
not
believe.
a poised passer either.
No.
He escapes the pocket far too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Fitzpatrick. He only took off like 1 or 2 times when he
He
absolutely
had a really
have
good run
to.
actually though.
Yeah, he
had
picked
about-
up a first down on
yeah.
that one.
Uh-huh.
Took off for the first time in like 5 years. But yeah, he's just overall, I think, the better quarterback. I mean, obviously he's 38 or 35. So long term, he's not as good as the option as the Jameis Winston in his mid-20s. But honestly, do you even want Jameis Winston
Yeah.
as your franchise quarterback?
And going into that, so do you think this is his last, Jameis Winston's last chance to prove that he's a franchise quarterback?
I mean, I think it really is. If he doesn't play good this year, they probably won't extend him because his rookie deal's up. And I personally wouldn't. I wouldn't pick up the 1-year option. I wouldn't extend him. See, the thing is, I don't even know if you could trade Jameis Winston. I'm sure you could for something, but then you would still have to sign him and then worry about, wow, is a team really gonna trade for him when
Mhm.
he's worth that much? So it's really a no-win situation for the Bucs. If they sign him and trade him, they're not really going to find a lot of suitors that wants a highly incapable, highly dramatic,
Not a very good
immature
passer.
$17 million a year quarterback.
Mhm.
And if you keep him, then you have that.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see who wants him if you were to go to free agency next year or they trade him, and like if he's gonna be a starter, like
Yeah.
are they gonna have him be a backup or
Who is he better than of the teams that would need a quarterback honestly,
the
very-
49ers right now?
right now, but they can't
they
get him.
Jimmy Garoppolo's definitely better than him.
Oh yeah. So talking about trading Jameis, we're being logical in this, but the Buccaneers are never logical. Of course, Jameis is going to get the starting job back. So do you think the Buccaneers should trade
think so?
Fitzpatrick?
I don't think the Buccaneers will have Jameis go back. I don't know.
You don't think they're
I
going to
don't
name
think
him
so.
the starter?
No.
But they spent a first overall draft pick on this kid. They've stood behind him for so much stuff. I mean, if he's just a regular player, he would have been cut by this team
Mhm.
like 5 times.
Yeah, but going back on the question, like I said, I think he'd be a good fit for the 49ers. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is out for the year.
So you think the Buccaneers are going to trade Jameis Winston to the 49ers?
No. Well, back to the question of trading Fitzpatrick if they were to deal him. I think Fitzpatrick would be a good fit in the 49ers.
Oh yeah. I think I could see that. I don't know. He's not an enormous cap hit, obviously. So
yeah.
pretty much any team could deal for him, but I don't know how much he's worth because like Nick Foles wasn't getting traded for a couple second round
Mhm.
picks because they wanted a couple first round picks. So what does Fitzpatrick go for? Is he really that valuable just after
Yeah.
a couple of good
Well,
games?
I mean, you'd have to have a team where your quarterback is just not good. Like,
or just incapable of playing in the 49ers.
like I said last week, Fitzpatrick seems like he has a good year and then a bad year or a decent year. And then, I don't know. It's just, you never know with Fitzpatrick, really.
Yeah. Well, he's having a good year now, so I hope he
So
ends up
far,
on
yeah.
a team where he can play and we can continue to see his Fitz magic because he's fun to watch, and I hope he ends up on a good team. So moving on to a team that's not doing as well as we thought they would. Gruden and the Raiders are slumping really bad right now, while Khalil Mack and the Bears are absolutely soaring beyond expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So is it too soon to call Gruden's tenure with the Raiders a failure?
I think so. I think it's just because I don't like John Gruden and what he's been saying. Like, he came out and said it's hard to find a good pass rusher. Like, you just
really?
traded the best pass rusher in the NFL to the Bears, and now you're going to come out and say it's hard to find a good pass rusher.
It's kind
Seriously?
of ridiculous. It's
Like-
really ridiculous, actually. And I don't think it's too soon. I think this is a cataclysmic failure. Has so many tools.
I mean, their offense is not bad.
No,
Like, if you
they've
look on
led
their-
going
their
into every
roster-
single third quarter this season. They've been outscored in the third quarter 37-3 this season.
And with
It's a
them doing
mess.
this bad, I haven't heard about Derek Carr that much.
No, he's
And-
an average quarterback. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like people have been
liked him.
hyping him up. They thought he'd be Pro Bowl caliber. He's an average quarterback at
him.
best.
I liked him a couple years ago, though. So
I think
I was on
Gruden's-
that hype train.
Gruden's going to get fed up with him because Gruden's going to need a high caliber, high thinking guy, and I don't think Derek Carr is him. So we could see some movement with the Raiders. I mean, he's already been willing to trade one franchise superstar if he's not happy with Carr, we could see him being dealt this offseason or sooner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the problem with calling this a failure too soon is, though, Gruden hasn't been in coaching for a while. He's rusty. And, obviously 10 years out of it, you're going to be not as apt at making adjustments late in the game. But he is causing rifts in the franchise did you hear that he's getting his own, he made his own, scouting team?
Yeah, his own, clique.
Yeah, his own little entourage.
Yeah.
So he's already causing problems, plus not winning games. I think it's a mess.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that he's going to be making $100 million.
Yeah. And onto the other part of the side, the Bears. Do you think Khalil Mack is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate?
Definitely. Even though his numbers, the variety of things he's done with the pick six, all the forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, sacks, it's very it's a very wide range of things he's done. He doesn't have a lot of tackles or sacks so far this season, and he won't this season. But what he does is he's so disruptive. He causes opportunities for other people on the defensive line and from the linebacking core to get in there. Roquan Smith, the first-round pick for the Bears, he's having an absolute field day every single game because the middle is wide open because they're having to commit 2 or 3 guys to Khalil Mack on every play.
I mean, the Bears just seem like they have an identity now. Like when Khalil Mack wasn't there, they were a solid defense, but then Khalil Mack's there, you're like, oh, we got to go play the Bears this weekend. Their defense is amazing. I mean, he's definitely a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I don't know if this week it's still up there, but last week I know that he had the same amount of sacks, same amount of interceptions, and I can't remember the other stat, but it was the same as the Raiders as a team had as a defense, which is pretty crazy, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think what you're saying about them finally having an identity is correct, because if you look back at the Bears, a historic franchise, you can always look and see they kind of come in eras. They have always that stout defensive player that kind of leads them. They're obviously, like the monster of the Midway. They're more known for their defense. Now this is the Khalil Mack era. You had the Brian Urlacher era, the Dick Butkus era, the Bronco Nagurski era, and I think, the Khalil Mack era is upon us. And okay, let's move into this. Are they a playoff contender now?
I don't know. There's so many good teams in the NFC that it's hard to say that they are right now, but I could definitely see them sliding in there at the very end if it's probably a wild card team, I'd say, if they are going to be in the playoffs, but I can see it, but I think it's a little too early to figure that out right now.
I think it's too early for Mitchell Trubisky. I don't think he's playing. If you watch the primetime games, which they've had an absurd amount of primetime games, if they didn't have Khalil Mack, we would be calling these games so boring. Like, why is Chicago?
Did they have the schedule out
before?
Week? I'm pretty sure they had the schedule out before.
Yeah, they did. They did. So, but I'm just saying those would have been
they would have been
boring games. Yeah. But anyway, just he's running like so many screens and short I don't know. It's strange to watch. Like you see all the trickery from KC, but they still throw it downfield. They still run traditional routes. It's so weird to see the Chicago offense being played on an NFL field. It just doesn't feel right, and he's not a mature quarterback anyway. I don't think they can make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, a boring primetime game, and what should have been the Browns and the Jets. I mean, what did you think of Baker Mayfield, and then do you think the Browns have finally turned their team around?
I think Baker Mayfield, I always knew he was a talented player. I just wanted to see how he could handle a difficult situation with a lot of adversity. He handled it well against the Jets. Now, the Jets defense, you could probably tear up the Jets defense every single day of the week. But, I mean, he still did a great job, managed his team. They came from behind. So I was impressed with what I saw from Baker, but I don't know if they've 100% turned the corner. Even though if they had a field goal kicker, they'd be 3-0 right now.
Well, they finally got one, but yeah, I said at the beginning of the year, not on recording or anything, but I said that Baker Mayfield would be the best quarterback out of the draft, and so far, I'm feeling pretty confident in that right now, even though it's just one game. But I shouldn't be liking the Browns this much. They're the Bengals' rivals, man. But
it's okay. They're a good team. Their defense is absolutely
their defense
stout.
Is pretty good. And
and I think
offense is...
so. I think Baker Mayfield is the guy for Cleveland. The problem is now you have Tyrod Taylor. Do you keep him as a backup or do you trade him? I think if I were them, I would keep him for a couple of weeks as insurance just to make sure Mayfield had that fire lit under him, and
yeah.
also just as a mentor. But I think at the trade deadline, you'll see Tyrod Taylor go, and I think you'll see Mayfield get some assets back, some like offensive weapons, maybe to replace Josh Gordon or something.
Yeah, and I saw that I think it was Jamal Adams said that they didn't plan for Baker Mayfield, they were planning for Tyrod Taylor, which
Definitely.
I don't know how much that you
Well,
take that
Jimmy
into
Garoppolo, though, you could see that, like, maybe last year teams didn't have a lot of film on him. Now they do. He threw 3 interceptions against the Vikings. He looked like a mess. They barely beat the Lions. So there's something to be said for not having time to prepare for a quarterback. So, yeah, we'll see if teams, are able to corral him more. Because but you watched him on Thursday night. He was throwing darts.
Yeah,
it was pretty impressive.
Tyrod Taylor was doing nothing. I'm like,
I think
thought it was
he ended with 2 yards passing.
Yeah, going into that night, I thought that was gonna be the Browns' first win, which it was. But early on, I'm like, well, maybe not. This Jets defense is just stopping this Browns offense, and they weren't doing anything except for Carlos Hyde, really. And then Baker Mayfield comes in the first pass, 25-yard dart right in the middle of the field.
He throws the ball so hard.
Yeah, oh my god.
And he made those receivers look good. I know he has maybe a B plus wide receiver in Jarvis Landry, but the rest of those guys, they're either rookies or guys I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And he spread the ball.
They had that one guy from Florida. What was his name?
It's Antonio Callaway.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a first-round pick, but then he had issues, right?
There were a lot of issues in Florida last year. Kind of a mess. So, do you think? Okay, so just kind of going back to. I know we immediately turned the corner on the Browns after one win. We're like, oh, they're a great team. Baker Mayfield's the guy. But
better than Tom Brady.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of what it feels like we're doing right now. But let's say they do turn the corner and they do turn around. Maybe they're not playoff contenders every year, but they're not the dismal Browns they've been for the past half decade. Or even if you look back, if you stretch their history, even since they've gotten back to Cleveland. Getting their franchise back in 1999. Will we ever see a stretch of poor performance from an NFL team like this again?
I would hope not, because I feel bad for those fans. I mean, can you imagine just going on 2 years with not a single win?
Can you imagine going on 15 years without a playoff win? Or a playoff appearance? I mean, it's depressing.
I mean,
I'd
probably switch.
I feel
teams.
the need to root for them, honestly, just because I have so much empathy, or I guess sympathy for the Browns as an organization, and even this season as they're turning the corner. So
supposedly
they've had so many Browns-ish, Browns-esque events. They had a player get caught for insider training.
Yeah.
That's the most white collar thing a football player's ever been caught doing.
And he's playing right now on the Seahawks.
Yeah.
They played him in the game.
And then your star wide receiver, after missing multiple years for substance abuse, you let him go for a hamstring incident. Oh god, the Browns are a mess. We need to move on.
Yes.
It's too depressing. Even knowing what could be ahead, it's too sad. So let's move on to our Week 4 NFL picks. First game up on the docket, the Minnesota Vikings at the Los Angeles Rams, Thursday at 7:20 on Fox and the NFL Network.
I have the Los Angeles Rams, and last week we saw what a mess the Vikings could be, and that was surprising to me. I mean, Josh Allen, the Bills.
What are you doing?
But I mean, the Rams have been so dominant this year. Their defense is elite. Their offense is amazing. I mean, what more do I have to say? I don't think it's going to be that close of a game, but I mean, we'll see how the Vikings defense can hold up for the Rams offense.
Yeah, we saw the Rams get their first real test last week against the Chargers. They handled it quite well. Even though the score was kind of close, they pretty much blew them out of the water. Just one aspect of the Rams, super team that's kind of been a surprise. Even with 2 Pro Bowl defensive tackles in Sue and Donald, they are 27th in rush defense. So that's something to keep your eye on. Mm-hmm. Obviously, with the talent they have, maybe just make a couple of adjustments. Yeah. They'll be fine. They got Wade Phillips, one of the best defensive coordinators in the league and of all time. And honestly, in this one, I have the Rams. Big time, honestly. Yeah. We got to stop putting the Rams on here. The Rams
are going to win every week for me.
Yeah, they haven't been. You know what? Maybe next week we'll talk some 16-0 hype. Maybe they'll lose to the Vikings. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I've got the Rams. So next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Atlanta Falcons Sunday at noon on CBS.
You know I can't do my team like this. I gotta pick my team. I have the Bengals in this. I think it's might be a bad choice, but I'm not a snake, so I'm saying the Bengals. They struggled against the run offense with McCaffrey, which was really annoying.
Gave up 184 yards.
Or 84, my bad. I wanted to pull my hair out, but with Preston Brown coming back, which was the leading tackler in the NFL last year, and AJ Green getting hurt, and he should be back next week. But Mixon is a questionable for this week. I think if they get all of them back, I think it can be a pretty competitive game and pretty close. But if that doesn't happen, I can definitely see the Falcons winning. But I gotta choose my team right here, Marco. So what do you say? I know you're not gonna agree with me.
So the Falcons, they have their two safeties are out for the season.
Yep.
They have 3 defensive players out for the season and 4 starters overall out for the season. I mean, they were the healthiest team coming into the season overall. No players of note on the IR, and now they're just a complete mess, and it could get worse. But, you still have Matt Ryan, but the defense is an absolute mess. But if I'm having to pick between the Atlanta offense and the Cincinnati defense, still with the MVP, and you got Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley had an absolute day last week. So I got to go with the Falcons, but it's going to be closer. Yeah. Closer than a lot of people think.
Yep.
Just because the Falcons, as I said, are riddled, and that Cincinnati defense is pretty solid.
Yes.
So next up, we have the Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots Sunday at noon on CBS.
I have the Patriots, and I have them big in this game. How are the Dolphins doing this good? Who do they have? Like, do you name one person that's like, besides Ryan Tannehill, who, I guess Kenyon Drake.
If you
else?
Go back, you heard me start that case.
Yeah,
I was going to say Kenyon Drake.
But who else? Who do they have on offense? Devontae Parker? Yeah, he's a C+ wide receiver.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
It's a miracle of coaching, honestly.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a big blowout for the Patriots. The Dolphins are going to get away.
The Patriots are angry. And I actually, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but Bill Belichick has historically, his assistant coaches have done historically bad
against him.
Yeah. No, not against him. Yeah, he's like 12-9 against, well, I guess now 12-10 against former assistants. You're thinking of Nick Saban, who's undefeated. Yeah. Talk about that later. But anyway, so his assistants have struggled in the NFL. So maybe would it behoove Belichick to let Patricia win a game? I don't know. It seems kind of far-fetched, but honestly, like the Patriots made no adjustments. They struggled from the start. I don't know. This is maybe just me like grasping.
So why do you think that? Like,
I don't know.
Think that he wants Patricia to do good?
Well, yeah. Because it kind of like is harming his legacy. I mean, you can't really harm Bill's legacy that much, but like Josh Daniels failed and came back. Romeo Crennel was awful with the Chiefs. Eric Mangini did terrible with the Browns and the Jets. And Charlie Weiss did awful. So I think he finally wants to see an assistant coach like do good. Like Bill O'Brien is literally the most successful former Patriots assistant. Sorry about that tangent, but yeah, I got the Patriots. Yeah, plain and simple. They're going to come out angry, mad, determined, focused. They're going to crush the Dolphins. Yep. So next up, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Oakland Raiders Sunday at 3 o'clock on Fox. I just like to quickly pause and say, like, if we would have picked this 4 weeks ago, like,
we're like, you just picked the Browns? Like,
yeah.
I'm picking the Browns.
I'm picking the Browns.
I mean,
I can't believe we're picking the Browns.
It sounds
weird.
Like it should never be said out of our mouths. It's like the Browns should never win a game ever again.
Yeah.
But Baker Mayfield, I'm on the hype train. Like I said, said he was going to be the best quarterback in the draft. And yeah, I think, like we talked about earlier, the Raiders are a complete mess. And
yeah, despite all the talent they have, like even though you lost Khalil Mack on defense, that defense still has a lot of good players. You still have Bruce Irving, Arden Key. It's not a terrible defense. And the offense, with the addition of Jordy Nelson on top of all the players they had last season, Amari Cooper, Jared Cook, and then of course Marshawn Lynch. Like I think it just really boils down to it might just be Gruden having to adjust to the NFL. And he just needs to make adjustments. So
yeah, and I think you said something about this earlier. The Browns have a really underrated defense. Like
yeah,
they're really
good.
solid. They're young.
Second against the rush.
Yeah, they're young. they're excited to play. They're really underrated.
And Jabril Peppers at free safety, I think a lot of people forgot about him. They thought he was just like I don't know,
college hyped player.
A college hype player, like, jack of all trades defensive player who's too short and isn't that good at tackling. Where are you going to play him in the NFL?
Yeah.
And he kind of plays like that nickel corner kind of free safety position.
It's hard.
And he plays on special teams all over the place, and he's a hardworking defender, and he's just kind of one of those game-changing guys where he's not the best guy on the defense, but he's one of those motivators.
He can make the plays when they need him.
Yeah, and he can bring the energy to the team. So that was a really long-winded way of saying I have the Browns over the Raiders because the Raiders are a mess and the Browns are somehow not a huge mess.
Yeah, somehow.
But
on to the last game, we have the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers at 7:20 on NBC. Who do you have?
Ooh, it's on Sunday night.
This is an important game.
This is a really important game. This decides the.
If the
honestly,
Bengals,
all
if
the
the
NFC
Bengals
North
lose,
games.
this is who takes first place in the AFC North, or
Yeah.
whoever wins this year.
The AFC North is going to be one of the most hotly contested divisions, and I think this is a turning point. And in this one, I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not confident in this pick at all. Their defense, I mean,
awful. They might be
awful.
the worst defense in the league.
Really, and they're so undisciplined.
Oh.
13 penalties.
And I love it.
They're the most, they're the most penalized team since I believe I think the Raiders in like 1976 or something, or like the Colts in 1983. I saw a graphic of that.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a mess. Oh, so undisciplined. They had the Buccaneers pinned at the 1 yard line, and then Darius Hayward-Bay got a block in the back penalty, and then on top of that, he got like an unsportsmanlike
conduct for yelling at the ref.
And just, I mean, they're just so undisciplined.
Like
Mike Tomlin has lost
control.
Team. Yeah.
I couldn't be happier.
And John Harbaugh, he's got solid control over his team. I know it sounds like I should be picking the Ravens, but honestly,
it's not
that
too late to
offense
switch.
is so impressive. Who you got? Who do you have?
I have the Ravens.
Yeah?
Like you pointed out, their defense is awful. Like, my God. I can't even name anybody but Joe Hayden and Cameron Hayward on their defense right now. But
TJ Watt.
Oh, yeah, TJ Watt.
TJ Watt's pretty good.
Yeah, he's good.
They'll figure it out. Artie Burns keeps getting burned on every single play.
Artie Burns. He's getting burned. But, yeah, I have the Ravens. Their defense is one of the best in the league, and their offense is also really solid with their new additions of Willie Snead and Michael Crabtree.
Although Lamar Jackson.
You want him to start?
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, but
just for the entertainment value.
I think their offense is gonna run right through the Steelers' defense. So I have the Ravens.
And I reluctantly have the Steelers. So that's a great way to end our NFL coverage.
Yes.
Moving on to some college football. Kelly Bryant decided to transfer from Clemson after Trevor Lawrence was named the starter the day before. So is this the reason many coaches are and will adapt to a 2-quarterback system in the future?
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily think it's a good idea because, like in this situation, one of the quarterbacks, or I guess more in Alabama, I feel like one of those quarterbacks is going to get fed up with not having the playing time that they want.
Well, definitely it'll be Jalen Hurts because he doesn't. He's clearly the second
And I feel like
string.
that can happen with a lot of teams if they're going to go with 2 quarterbacks. Like one person, their ego is going to get ahead of them, and they're not going to want the success of the team to overcome their personal achievements. So, I mean, if both quarterbacks are in on the team winning for both of them to play, then I think that they can be successful. But I don't know how many teams are going to try this out in the future.
Well, it was weird. For 4 weeks, we saw the top 3 teams in the country. We saw Georgia doing it with Jacob Fromm and Justin Fields. We saw Clemson doing it with Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence, and then Alabama with Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts. And it was a really unprecedented move. And what I think it is we were seeing the top tier of college football doing things like before other people were doing
It's
it.
kind of weird.
We were seeing the Apple and the Microsoft
Yeah.
advancing in the tech industry before everyone else. They were getting ahead, and that's what Nick Saban and Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney were doing. They were getting ahead of the curve, playing multiple quarterbacks because you're going to have to appease these guys. And the problem is these quarterback competitions, as we said a couple podcasts ago, are going to go into September and October at times because of this four-game redshirt and transfer rule.
Mm-hmm. And with that being said, where do you think Kelly Bryant is going to transfer to?
You know, I was looking all over the map at where I think he could end up, where there's a spot for him. And I came up with a couple of schools. I don't know if you came up with a few or yet. One option I had was Oklahoma because Kyler Murray's going to go play for the Oakland Athletics after this season. And I think a mobile, smart quarterback. Now, I know he doesn't have the passing capability of Mayfield and Kyler Murray, but I think Oklahoma with the solid run game, he'll fit right in there.
Yeah. So Murray, I never heard about that. He's actually going to go to the MLB.
They're pretty sure he got drafted.
He's not going to go to the NFL then.
I don't think so. He was drafted 7th overall. He signed a contract, and they were willing to let him
play college football.
That's
risky.
It's gutsy of them. I think their Twitter account's pretty funny. Like they'll post highlights of him like running around the field, like that highlight he had against FAU where he like reverse field all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like they posted that, and they were like, "Ooh, we're really scared for our first round draft pick there."
Yeah.
But I would be too. I mean, geez, that's real dangerous.
Risky.
So moving on to the guy who replaced Kelly Bryant as Clemson's starting quarterback, is Trevor Lawrence really ready to take over as the full-time starter?
I don't know, really, because he had a lot of hype coming out of high school and kind of coming into the year, but I don't know if I consider him a better quarterback than Kelly Bryant, sorry. But I think Kelly Bryant has more experience.
Yeah, he started 18 games, and we even saw in that Texas A&M game, when it got close, they put in Bryant. They wanted the experience, the calm demeanor. Not that Trevor Lawrence can't develop that, and not that he's more talented, but what we're seeing right now is Dabo Swinney chose the player with the higher ceiling, the better passing, and that's what Nick did in Tuscaloosa.
Mm-hmm.
And also, speaking of Nick in Tuscaloosa, so they ended up beating Texas A&M by 22 points. Clemson beat Texas A&M by 2 points. So what does that say about the top tier, that there's even separation in the top tier of college football, that Alabama could be that much better than Clemson right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's just Kelly Bryant, to me, I thought he's not, like you said, he's not the greatest passer, but what he can do on the run is dynamic and is a game changer. So, I mean, I'll be interested to see where he transfers to. So,
yeah. So, moving on to our next thing here, kind of a surprise. Didn't see this coming before the season at all.
Definitely
the
not.
Kentucky Wildcats are ranked.
Basketball?
It's just basketball. I don't know. They're ranked for the first time since 2007. Way to go, Coach Stoops, getting the Wildcats back on the map. So, of course, now we're talking about the success of the Kentucky Wildcats. So the first question that is begged to be asked is, when will the Wildcats lose their first game?
I'm thinking they'll get the first loss when they play Georgia. I could definitely see it being earlier when they play Missouri or Texas A&M, but I think Georgia's their first real major team that they'd have to play that can definitely give them a run for their money.
Yeah, I think they're gonna easily get past South Carolina this weekend. But I think Texas A&M is a bigger challenge than you think. I mean, they stayed within 2 points of the number 3 team in the country, and they only got beat by a couple of touchdowns by Alabama. But I mean, but if you look at the other side of the coin, Kentucky beat number 14 Mississippi State by 3 touchdowns. How good is Mississippi State? It's just this early season stuff. We don't have enough of a barometer of how teams really are because we don't have that interconnected web of conference wins and losses yet. But I think you're right. Missouri could be a sneaker team to beat them, if not Texas A&M. But yeah, they're for sure going to lose to Georgia.
Yeah.
So with that, are they contenders or a threat in the SEC East outside of Georgia?
I think they're a threat. Yeah, I mean, the SEC East is definitely the weaker.
It's wide open outside of Georgia. I mean, if you say right now Georgia will win, who's going to get 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th? I don't think. If I predicted, I don't think I would get it right. It's wide open.
Oh, I'd say it's Georgia, Kentucky, and then it's just anybody for themselves. I think Kentucky will definitely get the 2nd spot, but then you have Florida, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. I mean, who else is in there? There's
Florida,
I said Florida.
Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Georgia. Why am I blanking on this?
I'm
right
pretty
now?
sure there's one
So
more.
it goes Kentucky, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Florida, Missouri,
Yeah, I think that's it. Then.
South Carolina.
Or South Carolina.
There's South Carolina.
Yeah.
Wow, that took me so long. I'm kind of sad. Like, I know my geography and my college football too well to have taken that long to do that. It's the pressure, man. I can't handle it.
Oh, man.
So let's move on from that to one of the most astonishing and depressing things I've ever seen on a football field. Stanford, they mounted an absolutely epic comeback against Oregon. And we'll get to the stupidity of the situation later, but right now we have to praise Stanford for, I guess, coming back. So are Stanford playoff contenders right now?
No.
Really?
No.
I know that
they're... Huh?
Tell me why. I don't know.
I'm telling you why right now. But I know that they're the number 7 team in the AP poll right now. But I don't know what it is about Stanford. It just doesn't feel like they're a playoff team. When I hear Stanford, I don't see playoffs. And I feel like there's teams that are better than them and deserve it more than them. And we'll get into this later, but Bryce Love. Come on, man. I'm waiting for, like, the huge game from him.
Do something, man.
Yeah.
They should have lost to Oregon. They almost lost to San Diego State. They kept it way too close against USC. Just because of the way they run their offense, I just don't see them being able to contend with a lot of teams. Now, they have a big game with Notre Dame, which we'll get to in a little bit in our pick section, but... I think you're right. I just don't see them being explosive enough or good enough on defense to contend with the better teams in the conference, be it Washington or anyone from the South. So going back to something you said earlier, so is Bryce Love, is he working his way back into the Heisman debate at all?
I mean, I don't know. He had a right game. I mean, he had, 89 yards, I think, with, 1 touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But what we saw last year compared to this year, it's kind of underwhelming. I mean,
very much so. Yeah.
I just want him to have that one game where he's going for at least 100 and some yards and not under 100.
Well, he's going to need that. What we're going to have to start seeing is really prolific seasons from running backs to win the Heisman. It's a quarterback award now. Unless you're an Alabama running back, I guess, but even then, there's too many Alabama running backs to compete with, It's a quarterback award, and it's gonna stay that for a long time because they're the face of the team, they're the leader of the team. You win and lose because of them, or so people think. So, I don't think Bryce Love is in the debate, and I think he's too far behind already to even. Maybe he can work his way to be a nominee, but there's no way he can win it with his start.
Yeah, I don't think he'll win it at all. Like, there's no chance.
He's not even on my radar right now. I don't even think he's a top 3 running back for me right now in my
top 3 running back. I think he'll be a top draft pick though because of his height for that first year. But right now, not in college football, not a top 3 running back.
So looking at the other side of this, and then we'll get into the actual in-game stupidity. Can Oregon still compete in the Pac-12?
I think so, but it's going to be tough. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the Pac-12 and also a lot of unexpected teams. I mean, you have, Stanford, Washington, Cal, Washington State, Arizona, USC, and Colorado.
Watch out for Cal. They beat BYU.
Yeah,
They're
and even
good
at
team.
the end of the bottom of the Pac-12, or is it Pac-12 now? Or is it Pac-10?
Yeah, Pac-12.
Yeah, okay. But even at the bottom of that, there's still teams you can't just go in there and play. Oh, we're playing Arizona State.
Yeah, Utah was sneaky
Utah.
close to beating Washington a couple Saturdays ago. So those Pac-12 at night games, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
You're right.
And they're super late for us because
So
10.
Yeah, it's real late because we're Central Time Zone. So all the times I always forget to say that at the beginning of the time thing, and the picks. All our times are Central, so don't. If you're not in the Central Time Zone,
we need some respect. We never have. Nobody ever says Central Standard Time. Like
it's always Eastern.
It's always
time,
Eastern,
even though it's like the majority of the half the population lives in the Eastern Time Zone. So, I mean, I get it, more than half.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so back to just Oregon. Why don't they kneel down? 51 seconds left. It's second down.
Yeah, it's
what are they doing?
It's stupid. I mean, you just have to. It reminds me of
Jamal Charles and the Chiefs.
I'm going with Jeremy Hill against the Steelers in the wild card. You remember that?
Yeah.
All-
Well, they had to run out the
We
clock
had to
there at
run.
least, though.
Yeah, it's not really the same because this is kneeling.
It's more that
It's
Jamal
just-
Jamal
Jamal
Charles
Charles,
fumble
yeah.
against
Yeah.
the Broncos.
Yeah, it's just
What a mess.
It's not smart. Like,
It's just
what are
I
you doing?
yeah, just take a couple kneel downs.
My gosh.
And if
but
the
it's
two plays take long enough, you wouldn't even have to punt on 4th down.
exactly, it's just the coaching. That's on the coaches.
Really,
Like-
Mario Cristobal made an enormous
Cristobal.
mistake, and I mean, honestly, I don't think they'd be playoff contenders, but they'd be in the driver's seat of the Pac-12.
I mean, they're becoming the Oregon team.
They're working back
Where-
to it, but this is an enormous setback.
Mhm.
A game they totally should have won in front of prime time on ABC, in front of the whole country, and they blew it.
Mhm.
So, all right. So with that, let's move on to Dude of the Week, my favorite part of the week. So I've got a couple nominees. We can debate over them. I got 3 of them. So first up, we have Benny Snell Jr. from Kentucky. He had 25 carries for 165 yards and 4 touchdowns. Next up, we had Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama, who went 22 for 30, 387 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And then Blake LaRussa from Old Dominion, who went 30 for 49, 495 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Who you got?
I had Benny Snell. I don't think you agree with me on this because of the Old Dominion, but I don't know. Benny Snell.
Old Dominion, man. What about the Monarchs? Show some respect.
But I was watching this game and he's a game changer, dude. I'd say he's the number 1 running back in college football right now.
Yeah, when I was saying Bryce Love was 3rd, I mean it's Benny Snell Jr. is probably the top running back.
I mean, like you
outside
said,
of Alabama.
25 carries, 165 yards, and 4 touchdowns. It's a lot of touchdowns, and he was just running all over him, and when he was running the ball, it was just a game changer. You could just tell that the game is just changing when he had the ball in his hands. So
You know who was a game changer? Blake LaRussa. Oh, he's the backup quarterback after one drive, one series. They replaced the starter. They put this kid in, 5'10", scrawny. They get him in there. Dude, 500 yards passing, accountable for 5 touchdowns. They knocked off the number 12 team in the country in Virginia Tech. That's their first win against a Power 5 team, a ranked team, since their program was reinstated. I mean, this is enormous for Old Dominion as a program. It puts them on the map. People know who they are now. And honestly, just what a special moment, honestly, for the program.
Yeah, that's definitely something you don't see every day.
500 yards passing, too. Like, when are you going to see that?
I mean, I kind of feel dumb about choosing Benny Snell now, but I'm sticking with it. And
yeah, go with it. It's like me with the Steelers. It's just, you're wrong, but if you're right, it's a good thing you stuck with your gut.
I mean, you can't really be right.
This is
here,
really
but
objective, yeah. This is an irrelevant award to some couple day-old games. Yeah, it's really not important. So, anyway, let's move. Wow, okay, great. Let's move on to our Week 5 college football picks. So, first up, we have a ranked matchup between number 12 West Virginia at number 25 Virginia Tech Saturday at 11 o'clock on ESPN2.
Texas Tech, not Virginia Tech.
What did I say?
You said Virginia Tech. I'm pretty
That's
sure.
on my mind, man. The Monarchs knocking off the Hokies, who looked so uninspired. Wow.
But in this game, I have Texas Tech. I, again, am on the hype train. They beat up on a solid Oklahoma State team last week. And West Virginia, they have Will Grier, so he's always going to bring something to the table. He's the best quarterback in college football right now. But I'm going to go with the underdog in this game and choose Texas Tech.
Do you think there's a possibility that you're associating Patrick Mahomes' success with Texas Tech's success, possibly? I don't know. 'Cause I don't know where people are getting this, because they got outplayed thoroughly by Ole Miss, who got slaughtered by Alabama by 55.
It's Alabama,
and
though.
took Kent State to the wire. We're tied
Kent
with
State's pretty solid, right?
No, not at all. Anyway, you're
Everybody
you're
has
getting
a
me all
bad
riled
game.
up.
Everybody has a bad game.
Okay, but I don't know. Texas Tech, I don't know. West Virginia, Heisman candidate quarterback Will Grier, some of the best receivers, probably the best receiving core, as I said a couple weeks ago, in the
They always
country
have
with
really good
Sills and
receivers,
Simmons.
seems like.
Yeah, and McCoy's a threat enough in the running game to keep defenses honest. And, they don't have that stereotypical Big 12 defense either.
Yeah.
They held K-State to 6 points, which is really solid. Probably not a Texas-level defense, but up there in the conference at least.
Mhm.
So I've got West Virginia.
All right, on to the next game. We have Florida at number 23, Mississippi State, at 5 o'clock on ESPN. Who do you have?
Dan Mullen. He's returning to his old stomping ground in Starkville. It's going to be real loud with the cowbells, and I think Joe Moorhead, the new head coach there, is going to get things back on track after the tough loss to Kentucky. Even though Florida stomped Tennessee, I think anyone could stomp Tennessee, and
Yeah.
I've got Mississippi State.
I have to agree with you on that. I'm not a believer in Florida at all this year, even though, like you said, they stomped Tennessee. But, yeah, I think Mississippi State is just an overall better team, and they're just going to come out on top.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to the next game, probably the biggest game, if not one of the biggest games of the week. Number 4, Ohio State at number 9, Penn State at 6:30 on ABC.
I have Ohio State in this, and I know it's at Penn State. It's a ruckus that's super loud. The fans are crazy. But is Nick Saban back this week? Is he?
Urban Meyer's back this
Nick
week.
Saban. I don't know what I'm saying.
Wow.
Urban Meyer.
It's an off week for us, man. We're all over the place
Yeah.
this week. We're
But,
unfocused. This has just been too crazy of a sports week,
I
honestly.
know. But is Urban Meyer back this week?
Yeah,
Is it?
he is. He is.
Is that
First
his
week
first
back.
I think
Or second week back. Sorry, he was back
He was
against
back last week?
Tulane. Against Tulane. Of course, they mutilated Tulane, of course.
I guess
but
I didn't watch that game, so I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I never watch Ohio State's games that aren't against ranked opponents because
Yeah.
they just kill everyone. Like Alabama, I have a level of intrigue because I'm like, I like the quarterback, I like the defense, I like Nick
Mhm.
Saban, but like I struggle to watch Ohio State sometimes because they blow teams out so thoroughly without personality at all, and I don't know. That's a weird tangent, but
but
I
this
don't know.
game I think is going to be a defensive battle. It's not going to be very high scoring, and I think the first team to get to 10 points is going to be the one that wins.
So last time they played in Happy Valley was kind of a turning point for
Yep.
James Franklin's Penn State team and his tenure with that blocked field goal, but I don't think it'll be that close to even let a field goal decide it this time. I've got Ohio State, and I've got them by about 10 points, maybe 2 touchdowns. So
Alright.
moving on to another top 10 matchup, number 7 Stanford at number 8 Notre Dame at 6:30 on NBC.
I have Stanford in this, and I know I just kind of trashed them at not making the playoffs, but I like both teams here. Notre Dame had a solid and convincing start to the season. However, I picked Stanford because I really like Bryce Love, and I hope this is the week that he has a big game, and I'm holding him to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is really a game where it's like neither of the offenses have personality. The defenses are like lackluster. Like
Mhm.
this is at the same time as the Ohio State Penn State game. I'm going to watch that one way more than this one. This
Mhm.
game just seems so uninteresting to me, and
I think it seems
even-
somewhat interesting.
really
More
even
than I think you do. But
it's amazing that these. First of all, I don't know. I don't even know how Notre Dame is ranked 8th. They barely beat Michigan, who's been a mess all season. They
Till
beat
this last week.
Vanderbilt by 5 points. They beat Wake Forest. Big deal. Like, I don't know. I think it's the name. So I think
Yeah.
Stanford's going to win this one because they're way more talented, even though it's a closely ranked game. Notre Dame is going to get blown out of the water, I think. So next game up, we have number 20 BYU at number 11 Washington, Saturday at 7:30 on Fox.
And this is one hype train I'm not on, the BYU team. I have Washington in this, in a pretty solid victory, I think. I don't know why I don't think BYU is that good, but it's just when I watch them, they just don't pop at me. I don't know what it is, but Washington's just overall a better team. They have more experience. They struggled in offense for a while, haven't they? But I think they'll
with
find
Utah
themselves.
and a couple
yeah.
other teams, but they'll
I think
get it
they'll find
going.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you got Washington in that one?
Yeah, Washington.
Yeah, I do too. Not really part of the BYU hype train either, but if I'm being honest, I think this is really good for Washington and the Big Ten to get a ranked win, especially since BYU beat Wisconsin. It's more important that they won that game that they were even ranked.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a solid win for Washington, and this game right here in Week 5 could prove integral to Washington making it into the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah, so This is a really important game for the Pac-12 and could decide whether or not they're represented in the playoffs.
And the final game, we have number 19 Oregon at number 21 California Saturday at 9:30 on Fox Sports 1. Who do you have?
Wow, that's a really late game.
Yeah, it is.
They wonder why no one ever watches.
Well, I mean, I bet they do on the Pacific Coast. There's probably a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure. But that's
I mean,
that's part of that
Eastern.
Yeah, that's part of that kind of East Coast bias they talk about always. And there's actually been a lot of complaints from teams, and the Pac-12 commissioner just recently commented on trying to move games to earlier time slots. He doesn't want to because then it's only Pac-12 in those later time slots if you are watching. But there's not enough people watching. So the Pac-12 teams
they're losing money.
Yeah, they're disrespected because no one watches them win. That's why Oregon losing to Stanford was such a big blow for them. Like, no one's going to watch this game, and I think Cal's going to win it anyway. They have an absolutely stout defense. So Wisconsin's defense is supposed to be top 5 in the country. They held BYU to what? Somewhere in the range 20 point, like 23. What was it? 24 points. California held BYU to 10 points, I think, and 7 of them were on a pick six. So.
Really?
Yeah, Cal's defense is for real, and they have an air raid West Coast offense, and I think Cal could make some noise in the Pac-12.
See, I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I have Oregon in this. They just lost that devastating game to Stanford, as we just talked about, and I think they're gonna come out looking for some revenge. And I think with Oregon, their motto is speed kills. Like, I think they're, like you said, California has a really good defense, but I think Oregon can overcome that and win this game.
See, I think Oregon has the far more talented team, but I think Cal is going to be more mentally prepared. I think just losing that game to Stanford, watching it, I didn't watch it live. I watched it like later that night because I DVR'd it and then watched it later. It was just devastating to watch.
I think it's going to lessen their confidence.
Yeah, I think that's one of those games that'll kind of mess with you for the whole season. Like, I was watching it kind of going through and like I was like, oh yeah, Oregon's got this wrapped up, and I kind of kept skipping through and I was like, ooh, Stanford's making a comeback, and I could not believe they came back. That was absolutely crazy. So I got Cal, you got Oregon. So let's move on to a segment we haven't seen in a while. Good old Nostradamus. Good old Nostradamus.
Yes.
All right, Easton, what do you got?
I don't know. Is this more controversial than FAU and Oklahoma?
I think so.
Which one do you think is going to be worse? Which one's going to make more jokes? The Oklahama? Or
I think
if this
I
fails?
think they'll both be T-shirt worthy at the end.
Well, I know a lot of you are going to disagree with this, but
comment down below. Let them know. Let them have it.
They just destroy me in the comments. But so this week, I have something that has to do with the NBA. It's one of the most anticipated teams going into this NBA season, and that is the Los Angeles Lakers. And rightfully so, as they just signed, or not just signed, but they signed LeBron James this summer in free agency for 4 years. And however, they brought in some questionable players. I mean, they brought in Rondo, JaVale McGee. We all know JaVale McGee. That's just,
Shaq
and the Fool legend.
Champion.
Lance Stevenson, another person you could he's going to blow in LeBron's ear a couple times this year. And then Michael Beasley, who just looks like he's on something every game. I don't know what it is, but you got to
not good at basketball, Pill?
Your favorite player's favorite player? That's his quote. Did you ever hear about that?
No.
Really? He said that in an interview once. He's like, "Yeah, I'm your favorite player's favorite player." But
that's so weird.
Yeah, I just don't like how this team is built. They have no shooting. Like, who's their best shooter? Kyle Kuzma? Or Mikhailuk, the rookie?
Yeah, the Kansas
sharpshooter. How much is he really going to play?
The beast from the East? Probably not a lot.
But I just really don't like how this team is built. Their starting lineup's solid. And I heard that LeBron's going to play at the 5, which is really questionable. I don't know how that's going to work, especially against teams with the big centers like Steven Adams. Yeah, but he's going to
spread them out, I think.
Yeah, they can play 5 out, which is going to really help them. But I just don't like how the team is built. Like I said, I don't like how Rondo's going to start over Lonzo for the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
but I kind of see where it's coming from. But finally, the Nostradamus part, they are not going to make the playoffs.
This is not gonna end well.
They're not
for
gonna
you.
make the playoffs.
This
I
is
know
not
it's
gonna end
LeBron.
well.
I think I'm pretty confident in this actually, Marco. I
Really?
have to say, I don't know what it is. This team doesn't scream playoffs to me. I know it's LeBron.
They don't scream success to me. I don't think like Stephen A. thinks they're going to the Western Conference Finals. I
Definitely
think
not.
that's insane. They're a
I think
first round exit.
First round exit.
They're worse
And I think
than
they're
the
a 7 or 8
Jazz.
seed if they get in the playoffs.
Oh, so a little foreshadowing. So we're for sure doing a Western Conference preview next week, and then followed by an Eastern Conference preview the following week. So that's just a little sneak peek to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so that's a little hint there. Easton's not gonna have the Lakers on there. I will, just not very high.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Just with LeBron and any talent, like okay, so take LeBron off last year's Cavs and this year's Lakers. Who's the better team?
the Lakers, but you have to take into account this is the Western Conference.
You're right. The schedule, but I don't know. See, I'm not
There's
a huge LeBron fan. I'm not a huge LeBron fan right now with this move, but there's no way the league's gonna let them miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
No way.
I understand that, and this is kind of weird for me to say this because I think LeBron is the GOAT of basketball, and so I
Wrong.
should definitely not be saying that they're missing the playoffs. But I don't know. It just their bench when they go from their starting lineup to the bench, it's just such a fall off. Like
What do you have against Kyle Kuzma?
Kyle Kuzma, yeah, he's a good 6-man, but you have Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee.
Hey, those are
Lance,
some good
Lance
bench
Stevenson
pieces.
could barely make a team before he went back to the Pacers. He was
Yeah.
getting all around the league.
He got reinvigorated though. He has like a second wind for his career.
A second wind
Yeah,
blown
yeah.
in his ear.
Haha, get it? That was an inadvertent pun. Those are the best kind.
And then
So yeah,
yeah.
what a mess.
I don't know.
I don't
We'll have to check up on that in a while actually. That's
Yeah.
gonna be this is gonna be a stretched out.
Newsflash: the Red
probably gonna
Sox didn't
forget
win
about this.
116 games.
We gotta remember this because we might forget about this at some point.
Oh, people will let us know.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
sure.
let you know.
Shout out to Matthew. He'll
Listen,
let me know.
I wish-
Brandon Ingram is better than Jaylen Brown.
You're wrong. We'll get into that later in the season. So listen, I think you're wrong. Although I would love to agree with you with every bit of my being. I
'Cause
would
you don't
love to
like
agree
LeBron?
with you. I don't hate LeBron, but I don't know.
You dislike him.
I dislike him somewhat. I mean, you're throwing me out there, but like, I don't like the attention and the hype.
I know
he
how much
gets.
you dislike him because I saw you cursing at the TV when they were playing the Celtics. We all
That
know how
was rigged. That was rigged. The Celtics should have gone to the finals. Some of the worst officiating I've ever seen. It was garbage.
That was entertainment at its finest, right there.
That was quality entertainment. Although we couldn't put that on YouTube. That was pretty vulgar
Yes,
stuff. So
But moving on from the Nostradamus, we'll check
Yes,
up on
please.
that later in the year. We are going on to our NBA preseason power rankings, and we're gonna name our top 5 teams. And so, Marco, who do you have at number 5?
So I think these are going to be some pretty similar rankings. So at
Mhm.
number 5, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben Simmons, solid point guard, as is Markelle Fultz. I think they'll figure that out. Markelle will probably play off guard, They'll be fine.
I saw.
And
a
if
video.
both of them are developing shots, they'll be all right. And of course, Joel Embiid, all-star, if not all-NBA center,
Mhm.
And don't forget my fellow Croat, Dario Saric at forward. He's a real solid
Underrated.
player. Underrated. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw a video of Markelle Fultz. This is not a 3-point pun. They were doing free throws, and if they missed one, the whole team would have to do full court sprints.
That's a lot of sprints.
Yeah, well, he made both of them, so he's
Oh,
making
all
progress.
2 of them. Wow.
I know.
Not something
but-
that I could do.
Yeah, I agree with you. At number 5, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, as much as I feel like, are you a Ben Simmons hater? I feel like you are.
No, here's the thing though.
Or I feel like you don't like him.
I appreciate his talent. I just need him to develop a shot.
Yeah, that'd be important.
That's of the utmost importance for him. But honestly, the rest of his skill set is pretty
a young LeBron.
pretty Magic-esque. Not going to lie, he's a very talented player. I don't think Dr. J was super off when he said he was a once in a generation talent. I don't think he's that good, but he could be an all-star in the East this year.
Yeah, and then you have Joel Embiid, who obviously, in my thought process, I think he's the best center in the league. I mean,
Yeah. He plays defense. He plays offense.
Offense.
That's pretty solid. So at number 4, I have the Toronto Raptors.
really.
I was really not looking forward to putting them on this list because like
Hold on,
they're not that good.
we need to find the video of Kawhi laughing. That is the funniest thing to me.
That's a really great video.
That is like my favorite.
We'll put
thing
that.
ever.
We'll put a link to that in the description. I'll put that on once we upload the
That is
video.
the greatest thing I've ever seen. in my
Kawhi
life.
laughing. It'll be down below the description. So yeah, it's actually pretty funny. It's a weird laugh.
It's awkward.
Anyway, so the only reason I've got this Kawhi in the East. That's all I got.
Best player in the East.
Best player in the East with Kyrie. It's kind
Solid
of a tie.
team.
Although don't forget about Giannis. I think it's a 3-way tie right now, and I think throughout the
Yeah.
season, I think we'll see whoever does the best or whoever's team does the best. We'll see between Irving, Antetokounmpo, and
Leonard.
Leonard. I don't know. I think they're really close right now, but I think it'll be distinguished this season. It'll probably be Leonard because
Yeah.
a couple of years ago he was the third best player in the league.
It'd
And
be
I think-
interesting to see if he's still himself. Because I mean, he played what 4 games?
9 games.
9 games? Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was way less than that. But I mean, he hasn't played in a while, and he was injured, or at least
I don't know.
they
We'll
said
see.
he was.
So who's your number 4?
I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. I had to put them on this because they're my favorite team, and I think they're going to be really good this year, honestly. They got rid of Melo. They added Dennis Schroeder, who is a starting caliber point guard who is most likely going to be coming off as a 6-man, but also in the starting rotation with Russell and Paul George at the same time. And I think their problem the past 2 years has been their bench, and I think they finally solved that with bringing in, like I said, Schroeder, Nerlens Noel, who's a solid defender, and their bench it's a year older. They're more experienced, and I think that they'll be not great, but a solid bench.
See, I could go either way on this one with you. The problem is I don't even know if they'll be top 4 in the West.
Yes, they will.
It's going to be really tight. But if your proclamation about the Lakers is right and Jimmy Butler and the Timberwolves fall through, I could see them being a top 4 team in the West.
Oh yeah, I gotta say that. Hold on. Back to the Nostradamus. If Jimmy Butler leaves the Timberwolves and the Timberwolves aren't making the playoffs, and the Lakers might slide in there. So
So now you're gonna put
yes. But I'm
an
still
asterisk
saying
in
this.
there.
I'm still going with
Okay,
this.
all right, whatever you say. Okay, I mean, sure, whatever. Put OKC at 4, I guess.
All right.
I don't
Who
know.
do you have at number 3?
The Houston Rockets. A really solid team. I know they lost some key defensive pieces in Trevor Ariza and Luke Bahamute, but they replenished decently, and of course they still have their main guys and Chris Paul, Clint Capella, and of course the reigning MVP James Harden. So not a whole lot has changed, and D'Antoni will, get those guys into the system. DeAnthony Melton from USC
Solid
was their
defender.
draft pick. I think he's going to get into the rotation. He'll be a surprise, player in the league. Not rookie of the year level, but he'll be a solid, contributor on a playoff, if not championship caliber team. So I got the Rockets at 3.
At number 3, I have the Boston Celtics. I know you're gonna hate me for this, but I just think I'll get to that later. But the Celtics, they obviously have Kyrie Irving. They have probably the best team overall. Their bench is amazing, and with possibly 3 All-Stars, maybe 4 if you want to count Gordon Hayward as an All-Star this year. I don't know if he'll be, but Jason Tatum, obviously, if it was any other year, he would have won Rookie of the Year. And
Red shirt. Ben Simmons was a red shirt. That's
I'm
cheating.
still saying Donovan Mitchell should have
I
won
mean, it would have
over.
been Donovan Mitchell because it's a regular season award. I think Donovan Mitchell got robbed
Yeah,
big time.
definitely. Big time.
At least he
But-
won the dunk contest.
Yeah, the Celtics have, I'd say, the second best coach in basketball right now, other than Greg Popovich. And defensively, they're as best as you can get. And they're going to be the best team in the East, I say, this year.
Yeah, so I have the Celtics at 2 for pretty much the same reasons you have them at 3. The reason I have them at 2, I don't know if they're better than the Rockets, but just they're in the East, so they'll be the first in the East, and the Rockets will have to play the West, which is harder, right? And there's all those teams in the West that we're not really talking about that can still be problems. The Spurs, the Jazz, the Pelicans. I mean, that West is packed. I can't wait for next week when we do our top 8 in the
Preseason
in the West.
starts Friday.
I'm excited.
Same. Celtics
Get
play.
into it. Yeah.
Right? Who do they play?
I have no idea. I don't watch the preseason.
I watch
I watch the
I
regular
watch
season.
anything. I watch Summer League, preseason.
I did watch some summer league,
Yeah.
just kind of in the background. But yeah, I got the Celtics at 2.
For number 2, I have the Houston Rockets. So we basically just swapped there.
Yeah.
But
I think it was just more based on, like, I don't know who's better. Probably me personally, with a little bit of bias, I think the Celtics are better, just because I hold Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in really high regard.
And the reason I put Rockets at number 2 is because I feel like this. I think we talked about this a couple of podcasts ago. That trade that they had with Marquise Chris and Brandon Knight, I think that could be pretty crucial. I mean, Marquise Chris had a solid rookie year, and I think he could really contribute to this team, as well as Brandon Knight if he comes back to his former self. And like you said, DeAnthony Melton, really good defender in college. He could become a key piece of their rotation. And today, Mike D'Antoni came out and said that Eric Gordon's going to be starting and Melo's going to be the sixth man.
And Melo was really accepting of that, which surprised me. And
now he does.
It's a step forward, I think. Well, he's also going to be competing for a Western Conference championship.
I think he could on the other team too.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think so.
I think the Rockets. I think if the Celtics were in the West and the Rockets were in the East, I would have them flip-flopped at 2 and 3. Just the East is going to be so much easier.
And another underrated signing, James Ennis. He's a really solid defender and really good three-point shooter, and that's what they need really.
Just we'll see how D'Antoni chooses to use all these
Trevor
guys.
Ariza. Yeah.
They're gonna have like a 4-guard, 1 center lineup all the time.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to watch. So who do you have at number
1?
1?
I think we agree with each other.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Let's say it on 3.
Right.
3, 2, 1. Golden
Milwaukee
State
Bucks.
Warriors.
No, joking. Yeah, obviously the Warriors, but
all right. Wow.
5 All-Stars. What else can you say? Should be 4.
What else can I say?
Solid bench.
Sean Livingston's mid-range
There's
jumper.
not a more annoying shot than Sean Livingston in the
Because
post.
it's so good.
Does he miss? I swear, I've never seen him miss a mid-range shot.
I've seen him miss it like once.
And how is he so good at a mid-range shot, but he can't shoot a 3? Same with DeMar DeRozan. Probably one of the top. Those two are probably top 5 mid-range shooters in the NBA, but they can't shoot a 3. I don't get it.
I don't know. They just didn't practice it. Their driveway wasn't long enough when they were kids or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Who knows? I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, their mid-range capabilities. I don't know. But yeah, going back to the Warriors,
who else?
Steph Curry came out the other day and said they have more competition than they've had, which might actually be right. The Celtics and the Sixers and the Raptors are better, and the competition in the West is probably the best it's been since their reign started in 2015. So.
Well, imagine if the Warriors aren't the Warriors right now. I wonder how different the league would be. I don't think there would be Paul George on the Thunder. I don't think.
I think
LeBron
a lot
would
of
go to
things would be
Lakers.
different. Yeah, I don't think LeBron would have left.
There wouldn't be.
What
teams,
if Chris Paul didn't get hurt? What would have happened?
Chris Paul actually could go to the Lakers?
That
would be really different.
That would have been a mess.
I don't think so. But
who knows?
That's something to talk about another time.
That's a what if. We'll talk about that some other time, as we always say. So yeah, that's basically it. Easton, you have anything else you want to say?
I don't believe so.
Can Nebraska beat Purdue on Saturday?
No.
Wow. So we're gonna be 0-4.
I've lost complete confidence in our team, and sadly, I have, and it's not a great year to be a Nebraska fan.
The program has never started 0-4, so that'll be another first for Scott Frost and his merry band of coaches.
I believe in him.
I believe in him, but
it's just gonna be a stressful year.
It's gonna take some
time.
No bowl game. Oh boy, that'll be something else. All right, I'm Marco Yerkovich,
and I'm Easton Nelson,
and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.